Ever since the creation of vaccines, there's been a lot of controversy over its safety and effectiveness. Shortly after the widespread requirement of the very first vaccine, which was the smallpox vaccine, skeptics banded together to form the first Anti-Vaccination League of America in 1879. Papers against the vaccine started surfacing as, in the past, about a third of people who received the smallpox vaccine experienced mild adverse reactions. In addition to that, 1 in every 1,000 people who received the smallpox vaccine experienced side effects such as corneal scarring, blindness, disfiguring skin conditions, and brain damage. In spite of this, thanks to the success of vaccination, the last natural outbreak of smallpox in the United States occurred in 1949. In 1980, the World Health Assembly declared smallpox eradicated, and no cases of naturally occurring smallpox have happened since.
The vaccine controversy, however, didn't stop there. In 1998, Dr. Andrew Wakefield and 12 of his colleagues infamously published a paper in The Lancet linking the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine to autism. Despite the small sample size of 12 children and the suspicious conclusions of the paper, it received wide publicity. It was later found that Wakefield had actually been funded by lawyers who were working with parents in lawsuits against vaccine-producing companies. All these factors led to the retracting and discrediting of the paper in 2010. Yet, despite overwhelming scientific evidence proving that there is no link between the MMR vaccine and autism, that paper's effects on the public's perception of vaccines can still be seen today.
So what exactly are vaccines? Vaccines contain the same germs that cause disease. For example, the measles vaccine contains the measles virus, and the HIV vaccine contains the HIV bacteria. The difference is, these viruses have been either killed or weakened to the point that they don't make you sick. The introduction of these dead or weakened viruses stimulates your immune system to produce antibodies, exactly like it would if you were exposed to the disease. Thus, you develop immunity to that disease without having to get the disease first. There's a saying that prevention is better than cure, and this is exactly what makes vaccines so powerful. While most medicines treat or cure diseases, vaccines prevent them.
The direct effect of vaccination is herd immunity, a situation in which a sufficient proportion of a population is immune to an infectious disease to make it spread from person to person unlikely. Herd immunity helps provide individuals who are medically unable to be vaccinated, such as newborns and those who are immunocompromised, some protection because the disease will have little opportunity to spread within the community.
Immunization has become one of the most successful public health interventions in human history, responsible for the greatest reductions in worldwide morbidity and mortality. Once Edward Jenner developed the first vaccine against smallpox in 1796, smallpox vaccination spread throughout the world alongside other public health measures. By 1979, smallpox, a disease that had been responsible for roughly 300 million deaths in the 20th century, was eradicated. More recently, widespread vaccination against polio has reduced the number of reported cases from an estimated 350,000 in 1988 to only 37 in 2016. Given how formidable vaccines are, everyone should want them, right? Wrong. In spite of numerous efforts to make immunization increasingly accessible, combat anti-vaccination beliefs, and educate people on the immense benefits and low risks of vaccinations, millions continue to die each year from vaccine-preventable diseases.
So why don't people trust vaccines? Let's dive in a little deeper. One study found evidence showing that anti-vaccination beliefs have similar predictors as other unrelated conspiracy beliefs. The results indicated that 6% of the people surveyed believed in 3 different conspiracy beliefs: that Obama is Muslim, that the Bush administration knew about the 9/11 attack, and that vaccines aren't efficient. From the same group of people, 43.7% of those who believed in other conspiracy theories were also skeptical about the benefits of vaccines. This implies that anti-vaccination beliefs are better understood as a product of a tendency for conspiracy beliefs, A very prevalent predictor for believing in these theories is a lack of political trust. Many parents perceive the government's requirements to vaccinate as a threat to their individual autonomy rather than a rejection to vaccines themselves. Additional studies have found that parents doubt vaccine efficacy because they think the government and its contributors are not really concerned about the public health and are only motivated to act based on their financial interests and ideological gains. The problem isn't that parents don't have access to information, but that they simply do not trust the sources. This explains why credible information on vaccine safety that comes from governments or other established sources has a counterproductive effect on people committed to anti-vaccination beliefs.
Additionally, there are some psychological factors that can influence a person's perception of vaccines. Firstly, we have needle and blood sensitivity. This refers to people who are dispositionally afraid of needles and seeing blood. Next, we have moral purity. This is when people hold beliefs about being pure and not having external contaminants enter their body. People with these psychological dispositions tend to display vaccine hesitancy and may further endorse misinformation because they are trying to support ideas that play into their own psychological fears and beliefs.
Furthermore, the rise of technology has allowed individuals to quickly create and share unedited, unverified information with others through social media platforms anonymously, with little to no regulation. Especially in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, more people are entering the internet than ever before to stay in contact with each other while maintaining social distancing guidelines, and hence increasing their consumption of such information. In 2017, Dr. Corey Bash and her colleagues examined videos on YouTube using certain words such as vaccines and vaccines in children. Of all the vaccine-related videos, 65% of the videos were anti-vaccine, 5.6% were government-created, and 36.8% contained no scientific evidence. More recently, searching through videos discussing COVID-19, research found that 27.5% of videos contained non-factual information and had already gained over 60 million views.
It has been found that being exposed to vaccine-negative websites for as little as 5 to 10 minutes can negatively impact a person's perception of vaccines. One study discovered that those who consider Twitter and Facebook as reliable sources of information tend to be more hesitant towards vaccine uptake. Similarly, when students were exposed to vaccine-related websites, 59% were unable to identify misinformation, and over 50% of students reported inaccurate statements regarding vaccinations after such exposure. Helga and his team ran a study on 400 participants with different opinions regarding the flu vaccine to assess how information was conveyed, perceived, and altered between links. The study found that participants would largely alter messages to align with their baseline attitude. Also, messages were perceived to be more convincing if they aligned with the individual's attitudes. In another study by Salmon and his colleagues, parents of both anti-vaccine and vaccinated children identified an anti-vaccination organization as a reliable source.
Consuming this misinformation results in a decreased trust in vaccines, which consequently gives rise to low vaccine rates. What implications does this have? Let's take a look at the case of measles in the United States. In 2000, the United States achieved the elimination of endemic measles. However, a decline in vaccination coverage soon caused its resurgence. In 2014 through 2015, a large outbreak first reported at Disneyland in California resulted in 147 cases. In 2017, a 75-case outbreak was reported in Minnesota in a Somali American community with poor vaccination coverage.
Would responding to resurgent diseases be costly? You bet! The cost of responding to a single case of measles can be as high as $142,000. In 2011, the estimated total cost of measles outbreaks in the United States ranged from $2.7 million to $5.3 million. These costs include contact tracing, laboratory testing for suspected cases, compensating healthcare providers and other staff members for their increased work time, public outreach regarding measles risk and prevention, and establishing quarantine for exposed, susceptible individuals.
Measles and any other infectious disease outbreaks require an immediate and robust public health response, and this means that human resources must be diverted from other programs and any functions to respond quickly and appropriately, which in turn disrupts existing healthcare systems. This sudden reallocation of resources could weaken the structures of health systems and create vulnerabilities elsewhere in the community's public health infrastructure.
It's unfortunate to see how the success of vaccines has backfired. The herd immunity that we are enjoying today against highly contagious diseases has generated a false sense of security among many people. Many are beginning to feel that vaccines are unnecessary since these diseases are rarely seen nowadays. What they fail to realize is that vaccines are the reason why these diseases are rarely seen.
To conclude, when considering whether or not you or your loved ones should be vaccinated, you should ask yourself a few questions. Am I getting my information about vaccines from credible sources? What exactly are the pros and cons in getting vaccinated? What evidence is there to support the position that I have? Only by engaging in this kind of critical thinking can we ultimately make the best decision that not only benefits ourselves, but also those around us. In doing so, we can help create a future where no one will have to worry about the resurgence of highly contagious diseases ever again.